गुरु प्यारी साध संगत जीओ, सब तो पहला हथ जोड़ के सब माई पाई फतेह सांझी करिए। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Sar Singh Ji, we are all standing here together in solidarity and unity in our thousands to mark 31 years since the horrific and bloody events of June 1984 and the Amritsar massacre, which led to the destruction of Sri Harmandir Sahib, the Akal Takht and the Darbar Sahib complex, commonly known as the Golden Temple in Amritsar. We have all seen the pictures, the videos and the eyewitness accounts of what the Indian Army so devastatingly carried out under Operation Blue Star, ordered by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Justice for her was meted out less than 5 months after. We gather here every year on this day to proudly remember the bravery of those who defended the faith with their lives against the army, but also to remember the innocents and thousands of pilgrims that were slaughtered just for being Sikh. This remembrance is the only mass event of its kind and one that has been widely applauded and respected around the world. Yet it still surprises me and many that a few still question, after 31 years, why do we still need to continue this march and rally? What has been achieved? But the same, some of this narrow-minded thinking does no justice to the actions of the brave Sikhs who gave their lives. And the question would apply to them also in terms of what has been achieved with them giving the Shahidi. The real question is to those, why are people thinking they are tired of marching and tired of protesting and tired of remembering? It's not always about achievements and modern day success criteria. This is the Sikh freedom struggle that we're involved in. It's more about taking a stand for truth, justice and freedom, not always about the timeline. Shaheed Bhai Jinda and Sukha once said, "Whoever stands and fights against oppression has already won." Those with a negative disposition will always find something to hide their personal inactivities. But the truth is, we as British Sikhs have achieved many things, some many thought was impossible, all with Guruji's Kirpa. This march and rally does not provide a solution for all the issues in the Sikh community, and we should be more realistic about our expectations for the wider global issues the Sikhs face both here and in India. However, this is an established event to remember and mark the events of June 1984 and wider atrocities. And for that, I'd like to thank all the members of the FSO and the elders who've stood strong for so long, as that in itself is a huge accomplishment. One thing has remained consistent throughout these years is that Sikhs in the UK have come together and shown their strong feeling about the events of 1984 in a solid but peaceful protest. We're lucky to have that right in the UK, as many of our brothers and sisters, especially those in Punjab, are not free to do so. As we all saw recently this week, that innocent Sikhs are still being killed in Punjab and Jammu to this day. Yesterday, 30 Sikhs were arrested in Amritsar, one of those, or many of those from the UK. So this is as relevant today as it is relevant 30 years ago. So this march is for them as much as it is for us, as we are the voice for the voiceless that are unable to speak. Before this march, we do have very clear objectives. Number one, for Sikhs individually and collectively to show remembrance that they have not forgotten the horrific events, countless martyrdoms and acts of heroism in 1984. Two, to highlight to India and the rest of the world that Sikhs will always stand for the truth and justice, both for 1984 and wherever it may occur. Finally, to create awareness about the plight of Sikhs in India and our right to freedom. One of our greatest achievements is that we've not allowed the events of 1984 to be forgotten, no matter how hard the Indian authorities have tried with propaganda and obstacles. And we felt that this morning today with the last-minute obstacles and challenges that were placed at Hyde Park. But with the will of the Sangat and Guruji's Kirpa, these events are always successful. When we look at the crowd today, there's a lot of young faces, many of which were probably not born in 1984, but they still feel that pain today. Finally, I would like to pay homage and respect to the immense contribution and the role of Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Bhindranwale, Shaheed Bhai Amrik Singh, General Shabir Singh, and all the freedom fighters of the Sikh movement. They follow in a long, illustrious line of Qurbaniya in our history, and ones we must never forget. So I'll now call on you all to join a 3-minute remembrance as we introduce those gallant defenders who stood tall in front of the Indian Army and said, "Come if you dare." You've just seen those Singhs who stood tall in the Akal Takht and the Darbar Sahib when the army sent special commandos, navy divers, artillery, armored tanks, and everything they had in their arsenal. But Guruji's Kirpa, the brave will stand and give their sacrifice for what's needed. But history has recorded many attacks on Sikhi, all failing. But along the way, they always give rise to great Sikh martyrs. In 1919, Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. And then around 30 years later, in 1947, a massacre during partition saw millions dispersed and murdered. 30 years after that, in 1984, we witnessed the genocide of June, November, and beyond. All these atrocities have called upon great Sikhs to reflect and respond accordingly to the time. But it's now 30 years on. Vaheguru forbid, but do we need another massacre to wake up our generation and get active and respond? It's a shame sometimes when the next generation questions what has been done, what have we achieved. The answer is all in front of us. The question of worrying is in 30 years' time, what kind of Sikhi will we hand over to our children, and what would we have said that we've done in the past 30 years? What will our answer be? The question is, what are we waiting for? All these atrocities have happened and continue to happen to this day, but we still wait. We are all becoming critics, especially in the day of the internet. But next time we do jump on and criticize an event or a Jathebandi, let's just spend a little time and look at ourselves and honestly say what contribution and what difference are we as individuals making. I worry that the reality today is that we no longer have the application, the determination, the commitment and patience to take the movement to the next level. Many have struggled to get days off work for Panthak causes. So instead, looking at and addressing our shortcomings, we start to point the finger with clever critical analysis or statements that our leaders and our organizations are falling short. But the reality is we have not stepped up to the plate. We have lack of new ideas and we become easily frustrated. And we just sit on our individual soapboxes and talk a great game, but expect others to action it all. So I urge every one of us here today to recognize and reconnect with the true DNA of a Sikh activist. We have many great organizations working in various fields, but as individual Sikhs, we should operate and contribute to as many as possible, especially those based on the Miri Piri principle of spiritual and political goals. The future generations are waiting and watching us. Sikhi, both religious and political, is not a spectator sport. You will not gain by just watching from the sidelines or the internet. So let us remember, reflect, and respond now, because all the change we need is within every single one of us. We just need to work together better. We have shown as Sevadars and as groups we can offer and achieve so much. So just think what we could do if we all collaborated a little bit more. With this thinking, we started the Sikh Network, and we hope you all follow on social media and actively involved over the next coming 5 years. I urge you all to please start this new journey. Finally, Dante once wrote, "The darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis." In other words, in dangerous times, there is no greater sin than inaction.